Let's do it.
All right, Ty, welcome to episode 4 for The Heroes You Deserve. I'm Henry.
I'm Mike.
I'm Richard.
And this podcast episode, we are going to discuss Captain America 3 Civil War. So we just watched the trailer and we are bursting to discuss it and tear it apart. No. So I guess let's start off with Richard. How familiar are you with the Civil War storyline?
I'm not familiar with it at all. I was already out of the comic book scene when the story came out. So I vaguely knew that it was happening. I never read it. I never was familiar with it. I only know by what people told me about it.
I was an avid collector at the time, so I was buying the issues when it came out. So I'm pretty familiar with it, although it's been a few years since I've read the issues myself. Mike?
Yeah, actually, it was you collecting it and sharing it with us, right. Everybody that we work with, in fact. And sort of, again, this is, as we spoke about in an earlier episode, Henry rekindled my love of comics just a few years ago. Oh, it's sweet, isn't it? But that Civil War especially really grabbed our attention. So Henry very generously shared that with us all. And
yeah, it made its way around.
It really did. I mean, Henry touched a lot of people at the office.
Well, but still, the judge
definitely take that out of context.
Yeah. The judge still has a restraining order out, so we'll touch on that later. That's another episode. But Civil War. So we watched the trailer, and of course, the Marvel Cinematic Universe is way different than the comic universe. And for those familiar with the storyline, of course, it's catapulted into by the New Warriors fighting Nitro and killing a school bus of children, and that kind of jump started the whole Superhero Registration Act.
Right, and I think you can film that sort of thing right now, given the temperature of the political climate currently. I don't think that would play very well if you blew up a school bus. I mean, even if it was old people, nobody wants... Forget it. Say if it's just a bus full of people. Nobody wants to see that in a Marvel film. They're perfectly happy seeing random buildings destroyed. But, when you make it real, when it's actual people dying, and it's because of some young upstarts screw up, then yeah, I don't think you can... I don't think you recover from that if that's your opening scene in a film.
Right, and plus the rest of the characters, I mean, there's a lot of characters that are probably not going to show up in the movie because, I mean, Reed Richards and Professor X, Doctor Strange were at some part of the rebellion or revolution, one side or the other. And, of course, we know that you can't use Professor X or Reed Richards because they belong to different movie studio companies. But so we're anxious to see how they're going to make it work. And now that they just announced and showed Spider-Man in the trailer, Mike, so since you're familiar with the story and you saw the trailer, what do you think they have right?
What they have right is the very clear lines drawn, the sort of ideological lines that are being drawn. It looks like we're clearly departing from the New Warriors incident. And it's more looks like it's either they're using Crossbones as a suicide bomber type character and then perhaps linking his actions to the Winter Soldier, who Captain America is then forced to defend against Tony Stark and his band of heroes that have lined up with him. And that portion, I mean, at its heart, seems to be accurate. I mean, that's fairly canonical. Yes, there's two diverging ideologies, and people are going to land on either side of it, and it's not going to go well because you're dealing with a culture of people that like to just sort of punch their problems out. So that part's correct. It seems like they have at least some of the allegiances correct. Honestly, we haven't seen enough to know where else it's going. I'm excited to see where that's going.
Right, and Rich, we'll get to you. I mean, we're just discussing. We're laying the groundwork for you to come tear down the foundation.
I'm actually really curious to hear what he has to say
Right,
from an outsider's perspective because he doesn't know the property. All he knows is what he's seen in the trailer. So,
Right, and I want to mention because in prepping for the show, we kind of were talking about the whole Superhero Registration Act, and it was briefly part of the Acts of Vengeance crossover in 1989 and 90, and it appeared in Fantastic Four. And then the Superhero Registration Act popped up later on in Alpha Flight in 1993. And then Mark Millar made it the comic book summer event of the year for 2006. So it's been touched on in the Marvel comic book universe. And of course, every year, each comic book company has the event summer.
did Millar hand that off to Bendis at some point? Or am I thinking of the event that followed the siege? Was that all Bendis?
I think that's Bendis. I think that was all Bendis.
So Millar was all over Civil War.
Right,
Okay,
right.
Just wanted to clear that up.
to launch it. So, what do you think the trailer has wrong? Again, like you said, it's hard to judge based on the trailer because and we've discussed trailers here before many times. The people who cut the trailer don't necessarily edit the movie, so it's different people. So it's hard to judge a movie based on the trailer alone.
I don't feel like the tone was captured. It seems to be very Cap versus Iron Man, and then other guys are sort of there.
Well, it was kind of like that in the comic book too, though, for sure. I mean, they were the figureheads of each side.
But I cared about what other people were thinking. You know, I wanted to know where Spider-Man was going to land. I cared about that. I wanted to know where Doctor Strange was going to land, where Reed Richards was. There were some tweeners that really didn't want to be involved, like Power Man
sure.
and Iron Fist. You know, pretty much the entire Defenders team kind of were on the fence until they were forced to make a decision by a certain event that took place.
Like the Young Avengers kind of started from that as well.
Correct. So
again, those other characters that no way are probably going to appear in the movie at all.
it's a shame too. Cause, you know, Wonder Man had some really good moments in that series. Goliath had a pretty pivotal role in the series.
Black Goliath, remember?
That's right.
Bit of Dust.
Yeah, I was kind of dancing around that.
By now, spoiler alert.
It's your fault now.
It's my fault. Send all email to comment below.
Yes, I'm gonna find Richard's email address and put it there. He's to blame for this somehow.
Right. And so, of course, I mean, the trailer just came out, and of course, we knew Spider-Man was gonna be in the movie. We just didn't know how much, and of course, we were all taken aback by the tail end of that trailer. Spider-Man showing up
Such a tease
with the shield, and that was awesome. I think.
Agreed. It was cool to see. I'm kind of dying to know where you land on this,
Sure.
Richard.
All right, Rich. All right. So again, since you are not familiar with the story as much as we are, and you are not an anti-Marvel fan, but you're not a lover of Marvel as well. What are your thoughts on this trailer alone? I mean, what do you get out of it? I mean, can you understand what the movie's going to be about?
Yes.
What is it? Well, in your opinion, what is the movie going to be about based on that trailer?
Well, what I'm not pleased with is that they've made this a personal story for Cap, which I'm not 100% sure if it was that personal in the comics. Tying it to Bucky, like I said, I don't believe that Bucky was anywhere involved, or it was not involved in this way. So now you have Captain America being forced. It just seems like this story is too big for this movie.
Agreed. Yeah, totally.
I think that
That's accurate. Yeah.
I think that, and by trying to kind of shoehorn this connection with Winter Soldier, that's enough to split the team, which I still, even after this trailer, I'm not buying it. You know, I'm not buying that the team is going to split in half because Captain America is standing up for his friend that he's known for over 50 years or however long it's been. This whole registration, the trailer is very misleading, I think. You know, the whole video, them showing the video of New York and the Shield in Washington, and none of those things were directly caused by them. And so they're directly blaming heroes for the actions of others. I don't know that there was any kind of irresponsibility on the part of any of the Avengers during those movies, where except for maybe Tony Stark, who created Ultron, you could basically lay all of the blame on Age of Ultron on his feet because it was his idea, and he kind of did his own thing, which seems ironic to me that he now is standing for checks and balances that quickly. It just doesn't seem very organic. It doesn't seem very natural. It just seems like a cash grab. Let's just make this a big event. This should have been Avengers 3 maybe, or I don't know. It doesn't seem to me like a natural progression of the Winter Soldier story. We're completely forgetting about Hydra, apparently. I guess they're all just been rooted out. Now we need to worry about this. I just thought there were other things that they could have done with Captain America than just jumping into the deep end with another huge story that they were not going to do justice to at all. You know, I mean, there's nothing more comical than watching 5 people charge against 5 people on a tarmac at the airport.
Well, I think they were playing Iron Man football.
It doesn't seem... It seems like they're trying to add more weight to a story that doesn't have any. And I understand that the Civil War story was a powerful story in the comics, but I'm not getting that at all here. I don't see the connections that they're trying to make. To me, they're very, very thin threads. And I'm just kind of meh about it. I mean, I'm going to watch it, of course.
Well, Tony Stark's, you mentioned that him not really appearing to own his mistakes for Age of Ultron. That's actually a running theme in the comics, is his cognitive dissonance with his behavior and the subsequent reactions. You know, he doesn't often draw those lines between things that I've done and things that happened as a result. He's
right.
like, okay, well, I saved the day at the end of it, so I guess we're good, right, folks?
It's just
and
the whole...
that arrogance of his is really sort of the wedge that's driven between Captain America and Iron Man, is that Tony doesn't ever see that he does anything wrong because things sort of turn out okay.
Right.
Never mind that he was probably to blame for any event having happened, and then, of course, owning up and fixing it with the help of everyone in the Avengers.
And plus, it's cumulative because the whole comic book, I mean, you have issues to build up all the devastation and everything else. I mean, you're only going based on the devastation based in the cinematic universe. I mean, there's only been 3 or 4 movies. I mean, they can't highlight other movies.
This going Civil War I think is just a mistake. I just think that people are gonna, the Marvel fan is going to like it by default. But a movie fan, or at least someone who's been following the Marvel Cinematic Universe, it doesn't logically progress from one movie to the next, this kind of thing. And yes, you're right, Stark is very arrogant and all these things, but it makes no sense that anyone would join him. And that's what I don't understand. Like, why would anybody be on his side? Now, I could understand them being on the government side, but it's just very...
Again, it makes sense in the comic book.
Again, and that's what I'm saying. Right. Maybe there's just not enough of groundwork that's been laying here for this story to be told.
Right. And again, to be fair, we're working off a trailer at this point, so for all we know, these things are written out in such a way that
makes sense.
These things, without overt exposition, will be explained to us. People like maybe don't wholly agree with Tony Stark as a person, but he happens to land on the issue where they do as well. So you might be seeing a lot of things like that. I would speculate that Black Widow will be one of those that, again, probably doesn't all agree with Tony Stark as the man, but he happens to land on the issue on the same place that she does, where,
I just I haven't seen anything from any of the Marvel movies up to now that directly implicates any Marvel character in anything that leads to a registration act at this point in their universe.
Well, it's kind of like...
It just seems like, well, we have Civil War, let's do that now.
Well, no, because, like, for example, the alien attack in Avengers, the helicarrier accident in Captain America 2, and Sokovia in Agent of Ultron, those are all 3 major... invasions or destruction that leads to this, and so we're kind of seeing that in Superman, Batman, because of the destruction that Superman caused in Superman is what's kind of leading Bruce Wayne to fight against Superman, in a way.
Okay, but we saw in one movie in Man of Steel more destruction than we saw in any of the other Marvel movies.
How so? They
completely obliterated
the Battle
city.
of New York was pretty harsh too.
I've rewatched Avengers, and not one building came toppling down. These aliens were the most considerate. They just stuck to shooting cars in streets. Watch it again. Maybe some windows were broken.
Were you talking about the big
glass.
Transformers worm, the flying Transformers worm that was like tearing through entire buildings?
Yeah, that was like side swiping, kind of like empty buildings. They even showed the casualties on the video there.
I saw that.
Like
I thought they were kind of low.
Yeah, the casualties were like 100 people died in New York or something like that. Which it just seems like I didn't like that they did the whole Shield Hydra thing in Captain America 2. I thought it should have been Winter Soldier. It should have been more of like a political thriller, more like a Cold War kind of a spy kind of a thing.
See episode 1.
And this just seems to just be out of control now.
But you're right, though. A lot of the destruction, I thought not as many people were killed according to their casualty count.
No, it's just I just feel like they're artificially making this into some bigger epic thing than it needed to be. We already know they're leading up to Infinity, whatever they're calling it,
right.
Gauntlet or War or whatever.
Mm-hmm.
We already know that I don't know why this needed to be an event spectacle, because it doesn't seem like that to me. It just seems like brothers fighting against sisters, and it's kind of, I don't know that there were enough heroes involved, and it's not their fault. Sure, Fox owns this and Sony owns that. Then why try and make it?
But it almost seems like movies nowadays are kind of just going for the spectacle, which we've touched on before. I mean, Justice League, Infinity War, Civil War, it's all about merchandising opportunities. It almost seems that way now, and they're kind of losing the story.
Absolutely. And I think but it doesn't have to be that way. And like I said, I don't going to these things like, I'm going to hate this. Like I said, there were some things that I liked. Black Panther is interesting to me. I don't know anything about him. I know that when I was collecting comics, nobody bought that book, but that doesn't necessarily mean that it was not a good book. Maybe just it wasn't good at the time. The whole Ant-Man on the Arrow thing was pretty cool. There are some
Avengers covers.
Yeah, there are some things that were cool about it.
Sure.
I just don't believe the story that they're selling us. I don't believe it. It doesn't come across as a genuine progression of story. It just seems like it's manufactured, and then we're just supposed to like, well, what side, and like even the team is like, well, I guess we're with him, so it's even. Like, how convenient that there's an even amount. I mean, it just seems so artificial.
But it's good. I mean, again, they're leaving the mystique because they don't want you don't want to know the whole story in the trailer. You want to, that's just giving you a taste of what's going to be in the movie, so you go and it'll be fully explained.
Correct. But you also want to make it intriguing for the audience and make them genuinely go, okay, wow, crap, this is happening.
Which I think the whole Spider-Man at the end, that's what that did, I think.
How much are we? I don't know. I'm not getting all that excited about Spider-Man. I don't think we're going to see him all that much anyway. I honestly don't. I don't think he's going to be as major a player as he may have been in the comics.
Right.
I think it's
probably
just
not.
I just don't see that happening. But
he's product placement. That's
yeah,
what he is.
that's what it is.
But at least it's not just a cameo role background actor. I mean, he shows up and takes away Captain America's shield. So I mean, he's got some sort of prominent role, I think.
I mean, I hope so.
Is this after the battle on the tarmac at the airport?
That's a good
Which
question.
apparently looks like it's during that battle.
Is it towards the end? I mean, it's not chronological, is it? I mean,
I don't know. I'm just, I hope that it's better than what I'm thinking it's going to be. It is possible for them to, hit a foul ball every once in a while. They have made mediocre films. They have made mediocre films.
Sure.
And this could be another one. Age of Ultron was not very well received. It was mediocre, maybe decent. I think this has a potential of being another Age of Ultron. I think.
You think so?
Yeah.
Okay, well, that's your prediction, and hopefully Marvel proves you wrong, Richard. We shall see.
And if it does, it's because of Ant-Man and Black Panther. Because those are the only two characters that I'm interested in figuring out why Ant-Man would join Iron Man's side. And it looks like Panther's on... They're both on Iron Man's side.
Actually, no, it looks like Ant-Man's on
Captain America's
side.
Because he was chasing after Bucky in that cliff. He was knocking Bucky off the motorcycle.
That was Black Panther that was knocking him off.
Right.
Yeah, Black Panther.
No, I was talking about Ant-Man.
I know, but Black Panther is on whose side?
It looks like he's on Iron Man's side.
They're both on Iron Man's side.
No.
Oh, I see what you're saying.
Ant-Man is on
Cap's side.
Cap's side for sure.
All right, so that does it for episode 4. So if you have any comments or suggestions, or if you want to react to some of the comments that Richard or any of us said, please
why is it always me? What's that all about?
No, nothing against you, Richard.
Comment
below.
Are you saying that everyone is so Marvel blind they automatically love movies no matter how... They just love them no matter what? Is that
Clearly
what you're saying?
not, or we'd have nothing to talk about. Come on.
So feel free to like, subscribe, comment below. THYD Show on Facebook and on Twitter. Where can we follow you, Mike?
At Mikey Leal on Twitter. And of course, I'm always minding the THYD Show site. So if you have any questions, comments, please feel free. I am always engaging. Not ashamed to talk to you guys. Come on, bring it on. I wanna discuss stuff.
And where can we get a hold of you, Rich?
On Twitter at Dicky_V.
And we're all admins on the Facebook page. So if you comment on that page, we'll be sure to see it. Well, at least one of us. So thank you very much for joining us, and we shall see you next time.
Bye, guys.
Bye. All right. Thanks for joining us for episode 4 for The Heroes You Should Know. I am Henry.
The heroes...
What?
The heroes you deserve.
You should know. Hello.
Cut!
You should know.
You should know what's up. Oh, that'll be the gag. That'll be in the gag reel. Oh, my.
All right.